Hello, Software View. Hey, Dr. Matt DiDuro, and today we're going over how to finish off the last 60 days of this year very strong, and we're going to do a little recap. Here we go. Let's see here. Yep, let me see that. Okay, so boom. You guys can see that, I think. Boom. All right. So, you know, this is all about so many people go on cruise control the last few months of the year thinking, oh, you've got Thanksgiving, and you lose 4 or 5 days there, and then you have Christmas and you lose 4 or 5 days there. But you forget that during these holiday periods, it's peak stress and people are inflamed, in pain, right? So they need help. And, really how to stay on the right path and track your data for the last 60 days. Okay. So we're looking at setting some goals, right? Wouldn't you like to kind of finish off the year strong and be ready with the momentum in 2026? How much would you collect? How many new patients, software patients do you want per month? These are the things you've got to figure out what those are, write them down, right? Because 42% of your goals happen and achieve them when you write them down. So maybe it is for today's example, I want to collect $324,000 in 2026 and really get the ball rolling. Okay. For some of you who want more information, or if you're ready to get a second device, and I'll show you how to double down, you can scan this QR code and we'll be able to set up a time just to chat. But so let's say you want to collect that number, which is around 324,000 per year. So let's reverse engineer it. Let's see what we have to do. Divided by 12, that means we have to collect $27,000 per month. You have to know your case average, right? So that is basically how much you've collected with SoftWave divided by the number of new patients. Okay. And that will give you your case average on patients who accept. First thing, how many new patients do you need to make that work, right? We're going to use my example, what we use in our clinic, a $1,200 case average. And then when you have to know what your conversion rate is, that's how many people will actually who come in sign up for care. The national average for something, anything over around $1,000 is about 44%. So if you're below, you need help immediately. It's like SOS. Scan that QR code and get on a call with me. Goals should be between 66 and 75%. That would be wonderful, right? With existing patients, it should be 75 to 91% case acceptance, but we're talking about new patients coming in off the street. So that range of 44 to 70, you want to see your team or your clinic in that range. Obviously, the higher, the better. And let's see here. So, this is from Dr. John. He was very close to getting the wrong device. He was looking at the turkey wave. He was looking at some other waves. And I just said, man, we just don't know. There's not a big enough track record yet. So, and this is what he said. Just want to say thanks again for making sure I bought this device. Single-handedly, the best purchase I've made in 12 years of business, a single doc office, and he's doing all the treatments, and he's nearing $100,000 in his first 8, 9 months of the year. So that's pretty good. So it really is how many more prospects you're going to need over that period, right? Um, and typically, you're going to need about 60 prospects through your external marketing, internal marketing, and digital marketing. It doesn't all have to fall onto one, but you want 60 people at least being attracted by your ads. Of those 60, you might get in touch with 45, right? 60 raise their hands, 45 get on the phone. Um, and of those 45, you might only schedule 30, right? So it's almost 50% down from your prospects. And of those 30, if you are converting at 60%, you're going to sign up 18. So 18 times that case average of $1,200 is going to come out to about 21,600. Now, if you close at 70%, like my team, who's amazing, and I'm only there 2 Saturdays a month, so it's really the team we've created. But with 18 people, we're gonna make 25,000. Okay, and if you're closing at 44%, which a lot of you are, you're only making 14 to 15,000, 14 to 16,000 a month, which pays the bills. It gets, does everything, but we want a bigger impact, right? We want the ROII, return on impact in your community, which we know you're giving, and then return on investment. So you get the point. Conversion's key. This Track your data. Know what you're collecting at the end of each day. Create a Google sheet that allows you to have a nice spreadsheet, caption your end of day, which your call center, your front desk is filling out. And this is a perfect day at the beginning of October, and we did $4,156, right? So you've got to, know your data. And if you want to lose weight, you got to get on a scale and you got to track it on a regular basis and make sure you're going down and not up. And in this case, you want to be collecting more. And a good rule of thumb is you want to collect around $1,200 every day you're open. So, if you run SoftWave, 3 days per week, we should have a goal of 3,600. If you're 4 days a week, you want 4,800. If you're 5 days per week, it's going to be making you about $6,000. And we run 6 days a week with each of our devices, and it's making, our goal is 7,200 that week. And if translate that over a month, 3 days a week, you should be making 14,000. I just talked to my buddy, Dr. Paul Drilling, and he's doing that at 2.5 days a week. 4 days a week brings you up to that 19,000 per month. 5 days a week, we should be shooting for 24K. And obviously, as we get in that 6 days, we're closer to that 28,000. It's funny about especially chiropractors, they might only work 30 hours a week. So they have, their office is not, seeing patients on certain hours. That's where we put our SoftWave technicians in to fill those gaps. And, we're paying rent for 30 days a month. So if you're only using it 16, 20, 30 days or 16 to 24 days a month, you're not getting your true value. Okay. So hire an effective marketing company. We're going to have a whole webinar on this. Who's the most efficient? The doctors, I mean, the agencies that are giving you great. Okay. All right. We just did the side of your foot.
Yeah.
And what do you
It
think?
feels so much better.
Really?
No, it actually does though.
You weren't even going to get a treatment. You just came in to give support to Sophie.
Yeah, that's just feel good.
All right. Do a little. Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
You can help us. You two can help us bring this to Australia.
Yeah, that'll be my goal.
Thank you. That'll be her goal, she said. Two phenomenal Aussie young ladies who play at Syracuse University, right? But know what your cost of acquisition is. I'm surprised how many times I get on the phone with doctors and they have no clue. They think, I see, I hope, they're running their ship by emotion. And this is a multi-million dollar vessel that you have. So, what's the cost to get cheeks in your seats for a new SoftWave patient? You got to know that, especially if we get on a call to really discuss your numbers. The national average will range between $18 and $65, depending where you're at. In Atlanta, it's around 45 to 50 right now. We have 70 other SoftWave practitioners. So for the purpose today, we're going to say it's about $30. And to get 60 people raising their hands, you're going to have to spend about $1,800 in ad spend. Remember, not 100% of them are going to come in. They're not all prospects. So that 60 might only turn into 15 to 18 new patients who accept your care. And also, we will look at, on some of our coaching calls, what are you charging per pulse, right? Some of you are charging more than Dr. Martin O'Malley at the Hospital for Special Surgery, right? So he's the foot and ankle specialist for the NFL and NBA. So as you become more proficient, the more you learn, the more you earn, right? That's what my dad used to say. Um, so we'll look at that. Fix your phones. This was a car I saw at the post office the other day. It was basically held together with duct tape. Um, this should be first on the list, but it's not as sexy. But before you start doubling down on your ads or even increasing your marketing, you got to make sure your phones are in order, right? Listen or monitor your front desk or call center, right? We're going to have an entire webinar on this because it's so important and sometimes doctors miss it. You don't want your front desk or call center just, answering questions, right? That's what I don't want. When I'm listening and monitoring calls, and my operations guy Jacob as well is amazing. Um, but we want them to basically say, "Wow, Mrs. Smith, you sound like a lot of other of our patients who've had really great success with this." The best thing to do is to get in with one of our SoftWave specialists, find out if you're a candidate, and then see if you qualify for this wonderful therapy. Okay? We'll get into that a little bit more detail later. We actually moved all of our answering of phones to a back office probably 7, 8, 10 years ago now. And, we allow our front desk to be 100% focused and engaged with our new patients as well as our existing patients, right? It's probably the best thing we did. Um, and, I like it. Invest in your team. All right. These are things, again, that are going to help you finish the year strong and create that momentum going into 2026. Bring them to seminars, have them attend webinars, help them improve their understanding of the science. And we'll have a whole uh, a webinar that really gets deep into the science behind this works and why we're more efficient than any other shockwave device on the planet. Teach them how to communicate, right? We're not just teaching you how to speak to your patients, we're also teaching you how to speak to the world. Because you never know when the assistant athletic director of your local university or college comes in and all of a sudden he's going to want it for his players and his students. Invest in another SoftWave launch, which would be really a patient appreciation day. I'm going to make myself available now just about 4 times this next year where we come in and we do relaunches. Okay. And we'll come in for that 4 to 5 hour shift. We're going to have you sign up at least 4 patients per hour for those 4 or 5 hours. And we just want to generate a buzz about this again. So you can DM me or you can use that QR code to set up a time to chat about that. Again, this gets your team and yourself 100% re-engaged in the mission, which is ending pain and suffering for millions of people without drugs, without cortisone injections, without joint replacements, without surgery. Hire a coach, a consultant. This is Coach Altry from the Syracuse University, just a really great guy. We got to work on him. He sent the majority of his players in, and they really enjoyed Softwave. Helps keep your team and yourself accountable. If you want to grow, it's important, right? Have you ever noticed that the patients that pay the most amount of money are the best patients? And the ones who want to kind of get a deal are sometimes we call the PITAs, pain in the asses, right? Um, those, you get what you pay for in life. And so that's just a thought. Bottom line, um, we offer a really cool $1,000 cup of coffee. And it's basically where we sit down and we look at your new ideas, your visions, how you're going to build, and we put a template over um, several calls to make sure that you're able to scale and implement at a high level. A lot of times in the past, I would share my thoughts, and when you get something for free, there's just no value to it. So this is a good way for people to be held accountable. Um, so, invest in AI. Technology is really helping solve problems. I love the fact that Elon Musk has really never had to advertise for Tesla. Until this past year, he started to do a little bit more, but it's pretty cool. We will have a great guest over the next few webinars that will really help you utilize some of this chat GBT and some of these other AI features that you won't want to miss next week. Become the expert in your state. This next Wednesday, we're going to have Dr. Matthew Loop. He was also one of our speakers at our first Shockwave Business Academy. He's just a great guy and his lovely wife. And we got to do wine tasting around the beautiful wine trail of the Finger Lakes. Dr. Loop has helped thousands of other healthcare providers become influencers in their respected field. He'll share his proven formula and how to create excellent content. He's one of the top social media guys in North America. This one I love. I mean, start creating great content. You guys have had this for 3 months, 2 years, 5 years. You should have a library of wonderful um, videos. Yeah, at first you're kind of spreading the gel, and then keep that pressure. How's that pressure feel? Feel great. Do your little hop skip. Yeah. Like even though. What's the pain level like now? Like a 4. Yeah. So almost cut it in half, and that's what we're looking for. Yeah. That's one session. Thank you, Matt. Create video case studies. That video on my TikTok is now over 585,000 views. Um, Share other software providers' great content, right? Dr. Joe Cipriano, who now has his chiropractor, has over 2.3 million followers on YouTube, makes 6 figures every month from YouTube, and another 5 figures from Facebook for people advertising on his channels. Um, when we came to Softwave in 2017, they had an identity crisis. No one knew who they were or what they did. And that's just not the case anymore. When you have 2,000 doctors and technicians across the country who are utilizing this, every day, tens of thousands of patients are getting this non-invasive, non-opioid, non-surgical relief, right? So he will share what's made his social media post gets hundreds of thousands of views. And really, the first one that I ever hit over 250,000 was while I was sitting at his seminar. So I'm very grateful to him. Again, that's the QR code. Facts tell, stories sell. We created a time-tested process to build this company. We let our patient success stories really drive the growth of both our clinic and Softwave, right? And so when people in your community see a team member that's working and delivering Softwave, and all of a sudden this patient can walk up and down the stairs without pain now, that's pretty impactful. And it creates an emotional trigger that makes the other person watching it say, hey, if they could help her, maybe they can help me, right? And there's better follow through for them showing up. Okay. So, again, finish the last 60 days strong. Learn how to speak to anyone, patients, other doctors. Our referral network still creates over 20% of all of our new doctors coming in. So I'm just very grateful and thankful. Tonight's webinar is really dedicated to Dr. David Hausman. What a wonderful gentleman. First clinic in Tennessee, first in Nashville. Dr. Dave has been battling some tough issues, but I've been texting with him weekly and so excited that he's coming out of the other side. And he's also helped me sell probably a dozen devices so far over the last 5 years. So I'm very grateful to him. And that's it. So I think you guys got a good idea where we're at and how to really get a good handle on finishing the year strong. And I hope each webinar in our series is going to help you get to your goals. Thank you so much.